The Indians originally called Trinidad the land of hummingbirds. On July 31st, 1498, Christopher Columbus first saw the three uniform peaks of the Moruga Mountains, and reminding him of the Trinity, he named the island Trinidad. Once it was a rendezvous for conquistador and pirate galleons. Here also in 1595, the famous English gentleman adventurer, Sir Walter Raleigh of tobacco fame, landed from his ill-starred ship El Dorado and burned the Spanish capital San Jose in his vain search for gold and treasure. Trinidad is the most southerly of all the British West Indian islands on the Caribbean, only 6 miles from Venezuela, on the north coast of South America. Gently sway its palms in the mellow trade winds, for this fortunate little island is free from hurricanes, which at times are a scourge to other of the Antilles. Here we are at one of the quaint hotels of Port of Spain, remindful more of old Spain than of British colony or tropical America. Winding staircases, hidden in jungle-like verdure, lead us to a cool retreat. But we have not come to loll in a hotel room, nor even in the alluring shadows of a quiet patio. A meal in Trinidad is an adventure. Strange delicacies, mysterious concoctions, and amazing pastries. Those are oysters. Small, only about as large as a peanut, but are they tasty? Oh, we found them so. Just outside the door, we meet a street vendor carrying a queer-looking loaf, which turns out to be a turtle fresh from the sea. Ah, what soup that'll make. But no thank you, we've just had our lunch. Approximately 1/3 of the population of Trinidad is East Indian, or Hindus as we popularly know them. They were imported from India by the local government, the first having been brought to the island almost 100 years ago. They came as laborers, although some of them, like this very interesting old character, are artisans of unusual ability. He is making silver wire for jewelry. The methods are exceedingly crude, almost primitive, yet each strand must be accurately dimensioned. We've often heard of tin can eating goats, but here's one that demands silver wire for dessert. Just wires of ribbons of silver, but artfully made into attractive necklaces and bracelets. Now let's take a little trip out into the country. Here is a typical tropical jungle tree that would make enough bamboo fishing poles for a whole country village of small and big boys. Besides bamboo trees and palms of many kinds, we find most of the other forms of vegetation peculiar to the jungle of northern South America, with here and there an enticing stream or a pretty waterfall breaking through. Scattered among the jungle-covered hills, we find an occasional little plantation, with natives working languidly in fields of tall green cane. Let's make a brief visit to the house. These are the East Indians, or Hindus, we mentioned earlier. Thrifty, patient, plodding folk. It is truly remarkable how these people from faraway India so steadfastly retain all their national traits and oriental peculiarities, no matter how distant from home they wander, or how many years or generations they may be away. This may not appear very much like a kitchen, nor the preparing of a special meal, but the results of this woman's labors will be a feast to her household. And it certainly is a feast to this little chick. This, in case you haven't already guessed it, is the local rice mill. The daily gleanings are only a few handsfuls, but sufficient to sustain life for the little family. At midday, everyone stops whatever work they are doing to relax for an hour or two of siesta. And instead of going to the corner drugstore for an ice cream soda, they just chop off the end of a green coconut, fresh from a nearby palm tree, and drink the cool, sweet milk. Some of the plantations specialize in bananas. This is an unusually large Trinidad banana plantation. On our way back to town, we pass one of the quiet bays on the coast, where the sand is like pale gold and the water aquamarine and indigo. Here and there is a native with a boat, or working philosophically at building or mending strange sorts of lobster and fish traps or fish nets made of bamboo strips, and which seem every bit as crude and primitive as most of the implements that are used on their farms. Still others may be found busying themselves at making or mending boat sails. As we return to town, a crowd of coolies attracts our attention, and we are a bit shocked to see what at first appears to be a serious duel with sticks. But we quickly learn that it is merely one form of amusement, practiced on the occasion of the annual Mohammedan religious Hosay festival. There are also acrobatic acts, firewalkers, and many others. This Hosay festival is in commemoration of the death of the Mohammedan martyr Hosay, son of Fatima and Ali. And here's the firewalker. If you don't think those coals are hot, try to walk on them yourself. This religious festival lasts for several days and nights. The principal feature of the entire affair is the building of what they call tazia, and which appear to be rather grotesque little temples made of cardboard and gaudily ornamented with tinsel and colored paper. They are modeled to represent the tomb of Hosay and are mounted on carts or placed on the heads of the people who carry them about the streets, accompanied with intensive prayer-making, the ceaseless shouting of the name Hosay, and the wild thumping of tom-toms. The tazia are built and paid for by small groups or estates of the coolies, who most jealously guard and praise them to the extent that fights between the various groups are frequent. And through the day and night, they continue to make prayers and offerings of food and money before these little street shrines. The climax of this festival is the carrying of all these little paper temples down to be cast into the sea, with the belief that they will carry the individual prayers from Trinidad to the ears of Hosay and Mohammed.